You're listening to the Swap Society podcast, and I'm your host, Nicole Robertson. I interview thought leaders and change makers who are working to create a more sustainable and equitable world through fashion, art, and activism. Join us for a dose of climate optimism as we envision a brighter future. Hey everyone, welcome to the Swap Society podcast. Today, I'm so excited to be chatting with Tracy McCubbin. Tracy is the founder of dClutterfly. She's a professional organizer, and she's also an author of two really incredible books, including this one that I just read, Make Space for Happiness. And it's really all about how to declutter, but also how to stop the clutter from coming into your home. And so I'm so excited to have this conversation. But first and foremost, Tracy, welcome to the show. And where are you talking to us from today?
Amazing. Hi, Nicole. It's so lovely to connect with you. I am in the very glamorous Sherman Oaks Valley portion of Los Angeles. So like you, we are sweltering through a heat wave right now.
Whew, I know. It's like I keep singing that song. We're having a heat wave, a tropical heat wave. You know, I can't get it out of my head for days. So where are you from originally? Are you a California girl?
I am. I'm raised here my whole life. Second, third generation. I was raised outside of Sacramento. I'm sort of the original Central Valley girl. I made my way down the coast, went to school at UC Santa Barbara, and then landed in LA. And California's my home. I love it.
It's so beautiful here. I feel so grateful to be here. So let's dive in. So you are a professional organizer. Tell us about the work that you do and how you got into doing that type of work.
Yeah, great. So I own a company called dClutterfly. We have been in business for almost 15 years. I have 10 people working for me, and we focus on a couple different areas. We focus on decluttering and organizing. So we'll come in, we'll help you redo your space top to bottom, put in systems, but really always focusing on your relationship with your stuff. And my philosophy is that your home is a tool, and it's a tool to support you and to give you rest and respite and nourish you and send you out in the world. And so it's always that goal. How can we make your house support you best? So we do that. We do a lot of moving of people. A lot of people have found that being extra busy, and it's a kind of 2-for-1 when we move them, because we move them in organized. And then a big part of our business is senior downsizing and helping people declutter homes after someone's passed away. So getting the house on the market, and what do you do with all the stuff that the kids don't want, the grown kids. So really helping people declutter, and then finding homes, keeping as much out of the landfill as possible, finding a new life for things, providing the resources. One of my company's philosophies, I don't sell things for people. It's not for all the reasons that I'm sure we'll dive into this, but I can help people resources. I can help, I just helped a family who the mother had passed away, and she had beautiful designer clothes from 70s, 80s, 90s, was able to connect her with a couple vintage dealers so that one of the pieces just showed up on all the websites because a little starlet wore it. And the family was so happy that this piece of clothing that they knew their mother had loved was getting a second life. So it's really, as much as it's about decluttering, it's also helping my clients find homes for the stuff that they're letting go of.
I love that you focus on not letting those things go in the landfill, because I feel like, and sometimes you watch these shows, right, where people go into someone's home and then you just see a mountain of trash bags. Okay, now what? Now that's just all going to go in a landfill? I mean, I get it. I get the need and desire for more minimalism in our lives and to really only have the things that we want. But I also feel like we need that other step. We need to make sure that we're responsibly passing those things along.
And also for me, it's that in the decluttering process and helping people live a less cluttered and stressful life, the component is the accountability of what you're bringing into your life. So I always tell people, when you throw something away, where's away? It's this mystical, like, I'm just going to throw it away. No, it's a landfill in Pacoima. and look, some things need to be thrown away. Like, you can't avoid it. Like, we don't donate stained and ripped clothing. We try and give it to the fabric recycling place. It's really a mindset. And I think that when I have that conversation of where is this going to end up to the people who are decluttering, it helps them realize, what am I bringing into my house? When I purchase something, where is it going to live, and where's it eventually going to end up?
Mm-hmm. I love that. And so I just read Make Space for Happiness. And so if you're watching
Yay!
or listening, definitely read this book. It's really great. How to Stop Attracting Clutter and Start Magnetizing the Life That You Want. And I love it. And it's, it's just a great tool. I'd love for you to talk about some of the highlights in this book, though. You talk a lot about clutter magnets. What are clutter magnets, and how can people identify those things, and how can they make changes in their behavior to avoid accumulating the stuff that they don't really want and that doesn't serve them?
So my first book, called Make Space for Happiness, was all about these clutter blocks. They were these emotional stories that we tell ourselves about why we can't let go of things. And they resonated with people, and there are 7 of them. And I was like, this is great. Afterwards I started thinking about it. I was like, wow, people are still shopping a lot. The stuff is coming in and people are calling me. And then the pandemic hit and I got this phone call. Hi, it's Katie. Remember all that stuff we decluttered? Well, I bought it all again. And, I was like, oh, there's a part of this process that we're not addressing. We're not addressing the upstream start of clutter. I'll go into people's house and they're like, I don't know how this stuff got here. And I'm like, you bought it. You brought it in. Like, it didn't, we need to be accountable for what we're bringing into our homes and what we're purchasing. So the book is a lot about the marketing cycle, how we're being marketed to, what happens, fast fashion, that whole cycle. But it's really about the clutter magnets, which are these, like, I think of them as little holes, little gaps inside of ourselves that we're trying to fill with stuff. So self-confidence, true connection, big love, it's like, oh, I see this a lot with my seniors who tend to get kind of isolated, and they'll move into a new place and they don't know people. And so they'll go start shopping. They'll go to CVS every day, or they'll go to the dollar store, and they'll just start buying little gadgets and stuff that they don't need. And I was like, oh, right, because that's a moment of connection with other people. So we're not looking for the things, they're getting a little bit of connection. Is there another way we can do that? Can you join a Mahjong club? Can you join a book club? Can you do something to get that? So what the clutter magnets are identifying these little gaps inside of ourselves and what else we can do besides consume to fill them.
And in today's consumeristic culture, it's so hard, especially it's become such the norm with things like retail therapy and
that one makes me want to gnash my teeth to powder. It is. And I think people don't, I'm 57, so I always talk about the old days. But, when I was growing up, there were 3 TV channels. You knew the commercials came on at 8 after, 12 after you went to the bathroom. But I think people forget that we're being marketed to all the time now, all the time. Social media, it's not only ads, but influencers talking about things. And I think we've lost a lot of our media literacy. I think we're not aware of that, and we're not making smart choices. We're not doing our research. We're not, I look at the beauty and wellness industry and I'm like, I have, living in Los Angeles, I have seen all those beautiful older actresses, and it's like, they haven't figured out how to stop the aging process. It's going to happen. So being marketed to with anti-aging, it's no wonder. And so part of the book is helping people understand that some of this stuff, it's not our fault. Like, we're really being pressured. I know, and I'm sure you've discussed this, it used to be that there were 4 seasons of clothes. There was spring, and now there's 21? Or there's I just read some crazy statistic about, what's that company, Shein,
mm-hmm.
How many new products they put out a week. Like, crazy. Like
It's
just crazy. And I'm
insane.
like, it's insane. And telling you that you need to have that and you need to have that. I'm like, how many different crop tops are there? There's not that many different crop tops.
The current model is really that every week is a new micro season. So 52 micro seasons a year. And it's absolutely bonkers. I mean, nobody needs to buy new clothes every single week. But that marketing machine is so powerful. And, that the advertisements make us feel perpetually out of style. Oh, you just bought that? Well, that's not in style anymore. So now you need this new style. We're in sync, right? I mean, I think that we are definitely seeing eye to eye on these things, which is that one, we don't need that much stuff. Two, all of that overconsumption, we mostly talk about clothing, obviously, but really overconsumption of any kind is really trashing our planet. We are taking more resources from the earth than the earth has to offer. We're using those resources to create a bunch of junk or really nice stuff, whatever it is that we're not using. And then if we're taking it to the thrift shop, it's probably not going to get sold. It's probably still going to end up in a landfill. And then now we have this massive waste problem.
Exactly. One of the things I talk about in Make Space for Happiness is what I call the donation myth, where I hear clients say this all the time, and I've been guilty of this, where it's like, well, I'm just going to buy it, and if I don't like it, I can always donate it. Like we've sort of given ourselves this pass, and if you know anything about the cycle of what happens to clothes when they go to those large thrift stores, they just barely any of them get sale. They either go in the landfill or they get shipped back across to sub-Saharan Africa where they're sold. And it's just, desecrating a local cotton market. I mean, it's just, that cycle isn't working for us. And it's made, we're not leaning in towards buying quality. It's like, oh, well, I can get 10, why wouldn't I get 10 $5 t-shirts? And I'm like, well, because you wash it and it loses its shape and then you never wear it again. And so we really have, I'm hoping, my hope is that we're at a time where we can see that the way we've been doing things isn't working. And look, I'm not saying, I think this is probably you, I love clothes. I love purses. I love it. Like, I love it. I'm not saying don't ever buy again. I like looking cute. I love seeing people and I love pretty things. But how much do you really need? What are you trying to fix inside yourself with that? And can you buy less and buy quality and have it last?
Do you find that when you're working with your clients and you start to have those conversations with them, is that usually the first moment when they think about even just the concept of overconsumption? Do you think that there's just like zero awareness on average out there?
I don't think there's zero, but I think there's awareness, but we don't want to pay attention to it. It's like, oh, and I think that sometimes it can be overwhelming of connecting the dots of our behavior and how it relates to climate change. So I think sometimes it's overwhelming, but I also want people, like, you can make a difference. You can make a difference. Stop using straws. Like, there are things that we can make a difference about. And I really think it has so much to do with our consumption, truly.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I think that there's also, with social media, this idea that there always has to be a new outfit, which is ridiculous. We don't always have to wear a new outfit. And I think that that's helping to fuel this as well, because people are creating their own media platforms and showing everybody what they're wearing every day. And, this has become this new thing that never existed before. I mean, it used to be you just wore something and whoever you saw that day saw you. And that
yeah. And then you wore it again. I have some hope. I have seen, I know Kate Middleton has been doing this, and Michelle Obama. They've been repeating outfits proudly. like, yep, wore this again. Like, I'm starting to see that, which is fantastic because they look great and it's a beautiful dress and they bring it out. And I'm also really seeing, especially for the millennials and Gen Zers who work for me, they are all buying secondhand. They are all buying secondhand. They are super mindful about it. They're doing it by choice. You know, every once in a while, it's like, oh, I need a bodysuit. They'll buy one piece, but they are so thoughtful about it. And by the way, they always look adorable. Like they look so good and they're willing to put that effort. And when I see that, I'm like, oh, great. There's hope. There's hope.
And we need hope right now.
Yes. Yes, we do.
We need hope wherever we can find it. You mentioned clutter blocks. So what are some common clutter blocks and how can people overcome them? So they have all this stuff, they're not using it. Why can't they get rid of it? And what can they do?
So great. So clutter block is basically this emotional store. Our stuff comes to us with no meaning, right? It's just a blouse. It's just a chair. But then we're like, it was my grandma's chair, or I bought the blouse on sale. So we add all this meaning, and what creates then, because of that meaning that we've created, it makes it hard to let it go. So one of the big clutter blocks, which really applies to clothes, is clutter block number 5. I'm not worth my good stuff. So I work with clients all the time who have closets full of beautiful clothes that they don't wear. And they're like, oh, I'm saving that for a special occasion. Oh, when that comes along. You know, and if we learn nothing from the pandemic, every day's special. Every day special. Wear the blouse, wear the nice blouse, wear it, enjoy it. Like you bought it, you have it, enjoy it. I have a client who had all these, she was dating and was, had all these cute clothes for kind of her dating life. And she met her husband, got married, she had a kid, and she was taking the kid to school sort of every day and schleppy. And she was like, oh, I just don't feel so good. She looked in her closet and she was like, I have all these date clothes, like nice things that she just started to throw on a cute sweater. And, and she was like, the effect was I threw on a cute sweater that I hadn't worn. And then the other moms were like, you look so cute. And she's like, I feel so cute. And sort of her self-confidence boosted. And so, that's a great clutter block around clothes, like not wearing your nice stuff. Clutter block number 7, the stuff I keep paying for, those purchases that you made that you overpaid for. So you can't let it go because you spent money on it. So you hang on to it and you don't ever wear it. So it's this whole cycle of reasons. One of the things that I encourage my clients, which will speak to your listeners and what you're doing at Swap Society, is if it's hard for you to let go, putting it in a trash bag and taking it to big name thrift store is not going to work for you. It's not going to work for you. But if you know it's going to someone who will use it, if your neighbor's house burned down and they had no clothes, you would put a bag together without ever thinking. If a young person in your life had a job interview, you're like, I have a great blazer. If you know it's going to someone who can use it, it'll be so much easier to let it go. So something like Swap Society, where you're like, oh, it's going to an end user that I actually can have a little chat with, makes it so much easier to let it go.
Yeah, I think that for me, when I started swapping, it definitely helped me let go of those kind of fancier items because I never wanted to just dump something at the thrift shop and have it wind up in a landfill. You're right, I do love clothes. I love fashion. I love dressing up. I love mixing up my wardrobe. I like variety. I'm a variety person. And I like having different clothes to wear. I like eating different food. I can't eat the same food every day. My husband could he eats the same breakfast every morning. I would die. That just sounds like, the worst thing ever. And he's like, I want the same thing every single morning, and so I acknowledge that about myself, right? That I'm like that variety person. Therefore, how do I do it in a responsible way? How do I do it in a way that doesn't harm the earth, exploit other people, waste a ton of money? And I was that person though. So I had a closet full of stuff that I was just bored with. Some really nice designer things, like a black Marc Jacobs cocktail dress that I just wore a million times. I really wore it a lot, but it was still in great condition. I didn't have time to try to sell it, and I didn't want to just have it go in the trash. And then I found swapping, and that helped me just to let go because I knew, oh, this is going to become, I'm going to convert this into something else and new for me. So I get that kind of excitement of having something different. And someone else can wear this and enjoy it and rock that gorgeous little, Marc Jacobs cocktail dress that should get a million wears. And now,
Yeah.
I mean, back then it still fit. I just didn't want to wear it anymore. But now today it wouldn't actually fit. So then there's also that, oh, this doesn't fit me. And I'd love to talk about that a little bit because I do find that sometimes we hold on to clothes that aren't our current size in the hopes that we can wear them again or as some kind of like, oh, I need to get back into that size. But I feel like that isn't really great for our psyche.
No, it's really, I talk about this all the time. And there's a couple, look, it's great to have goals and there are definitely pieces that you will want to, but there's also life. I'm 57. My body is different. Gravity has hit. There are things that I just won't be able to. Like I could, do all the crazy things, maybe get back, but it will be different. So hanging on to that stuff to me it's like the messaging is, your best days are behind you. So, I don't want people to be wasteful. I don't, if they are on that journey, of course, but oftentimes when you do lose the weight, your body's shifted and you want something different. And so if you're keeping it, I'll tell you, if you're keeping those sizes to motivate you, it's not going to motivate you. It's just not. It's going to just make you feel bad. You're going to open your closet and you're going to beat yourself up. So, I think that people have to acknowledge that is not a motivator. It just really isn't. Good health, feeling better, doing it for those reasons, but to squeeze back into the pair of pants. I tell a story in my first book. I was in a long-term relationship. We broke up. I lost a bunch of weight because it was a hard breakup. And at the height of the skinny, I bought a very expensive pair of pants from Barney's, a very specific expensive pair of pants. I wore them once. And then I started sleeping and eating again, and I was never going to get back in those pants again. I joke, I was like, you'd have to marry me and divorce me all over again to get back in those pants. And so, but I hung on to them, felt bad. They were expensive and they didn't fit. It was a double whammy. Like you spent money and you'll never get into them. Finally one day I was like, I can't do this. I got to let it go. So I work with one of the things that my company works with. We work with a couple different organizations that help support foster kids, and especially foster kids who are aging out of the foster system. So we give a lot of clothes to them. It's direct to user. It's fantastic. So I put together, pants were in the bag, gave it to one of the organizations, which happened to be around the corner from my house. About a week or two later, I saw a young woman in my pants. They were my pants. They were a very specific pant. I knew, and it was just, I kind of put it together and I called the director of development and I said, oh, it's so great. I think I saw this young woman going to work at this coffee shop in the pants. She's like, oh yeah, that's so-and-so. And, I was like, oh, that's great. I get so happy. And she's like, yeah, we've got her a place to live. She's getting her GD. She was sex trafficked from the age of 10. And I was like, and so I realized that I had been holding on to this item to make myself feel bad, and in letting it go, like I wanted to take my whole wardrobe and give it to her, like what this young woman is overcoming. And if I can be a tiny part, if I can just give her a nice pair of pants that can set her, like that to me was worth everything. And so I think when people are letting go of things, and this is also why the swapping model is so great, like you're being of service. You're letting go of something that someone else is going to enjoy. You're going to give it a new life. And that when you focus on that part of it, instead of like, oh, this is so hard for me to let go of, you're like, oh my gosh, you look so great in that. It really, really it's really freeing and it's really building up. I just also to when I first moved to Los Angeles, I was waiting tables and I was waiting tables with a group of women who were a little bit older than I am. And they used to, 4 times a year, they had clothes swap parties. So we would all bring our clothes, we'd go to somebody's house. I fully still have things from there. I have a leather coat that I wear still. And, there were some, it was just a great, and there were rules, like you couldn't disparage your body. If more than one person wanted it, everyone would try it on, the room would say, and people would encourage people to wear things that they'd never worn before. And, we'd swap and the little joke was if you were wearing something you got at a clothes swap out in public and someone said to you, "That's so cute," you had to go clothes swap. So, this idea of swapping very early and putting together bags of clothes for my nieces. And so if letting go is hard for you, there are so many avenues to let go where you're not just sending it into the abyss of the giant thrift store.
I love that. And to that point, yes, tell everybody that you swapped it. Tell everybody that it's secondhand. We need to normalize this concept of sharing resources, reusing, getting things secondhand. And so I love that that's part of the rules.
and yeah, it was so cute. You go clothes swap. But also remember, I always tell people this, like, people have no problem having an amazing vintage piece where they're like, this is a vintage Chanel, or I've got, they'll sort of announce from the rooftops that they have vintage. You should be doing that with secondhand clothes. Like, I think to be able to say, like, the kids who work for me, they're like, they'll have something. And I'm like, where did you get that? And they're like, oh, I got it at, St. Vincent de Paul's. I'm like, like, great labels, like, exactly, celebrate what you're doing because it's economically sound. It's good for the environment. There's no negative about it. There's no negative about it. So I'm with you. Let's normalize that.
So what tips do you have for people who are getting ready to maybe try swapping for the first time or just really want to minimize their closets? But they feel really intimidated. What would you tell that person?
Yeah. So the first thing that I say, the first place to start, and it's a little bit of the woo-woo step, is why are you doing this? What's your why? So closet's a great example. People are like, I need to get my closet organized. I'm like, why? And they're like, well, because it's a disaster. And every time I get dressed in the morning, I start the day off stressed and I don't know what I have. And I keep buying the same pair of black pants over and over again because they're not organized and I don't know what I have. So what are you going to gain out of getting organized and decluttering? And once you start with that, you're like, oh, I'm doing this for a reason, not just because I'm a disorganized, bad person. So always start with your why. And start small. It's okay. Rome didn't get cluttered in a day. Start small. Start with pants. Start with socks. Start small. Set yourself up for success. And then what happens is if you start small and you do one rod in your closet or 2 drawers, it's gonna feel great. And you're like, oh, this really works. Like, I can get dressed, I can find my leggings to go work out. So I'm working out more than I would, and I'm not buying repetition. That's one of the things I see with clothes so much is that when we get a closet organized, and one of my gals makes, the beautiful closet where you're like, oh, but one of the things that clients see is they're like, I have 15 pairs of basically the same black pant. We tend to buy the same things. And if you don't have them organized in categories, you don't know. But when all of a sudden you see it and you're like, oh, right, there's this color, there's this pink color I keep buying. I don't like it. I need to stop buying it. I'm in the blue family. It makes me happy. So getting your closet organized by category, by colors, also gives you insight into what you like and what you wear. And some of us like a uniform. I like a uniform. I like to know, I wear the same button-down shirts. I have them in a couple different colors. I don't want to think about it in the morning when I go see clients. Makes my day so much easier.
Yeah, having a uniform for your day-to-day or or even a capsule wardrobe that all of these pieces you can mix and match. I find that that is a great way to make just getting out of the door in the morning easy. You can still have the fun stuff though, the date night, the party stuff, the occasional, going on a trip or what have you. But I do think that having those basics that you'll always go to is a great way to be, because we all want to look good, right? We don't necessarily all want to spend a lot of time on what we're going to wear every day.
They've done, I don't know if you've read any of these studies, but they've done, I read a big article about people who did a capsule wardrobe and, basically wore the same outfit for a month or 2 months and, add a little. And the thing that just was, this was pre-pandemic, so people were going to work and they were like, no one noticed that I wore the same thing. No one was like, you're wearing that again? Like no one noticed. So, we have a little bit of freedom. We think that everybody wants this new, brand new outfit, but it's like, no, they want you to feel happy and be comfortable.
I had a very similar conversation on a recent podcast episode, and it was the same topic. It was more related to special occasion wear, though, like wearing the same dress to multiple weddings or parties or what have you. But it's like, but does anybody really notice? No, I cannot remember what everybody wore to every event that I went to. and also, I think it's great.
I have a fantastic Marc Jacobs dress that I bought, I don't know, 10 years ago now. And it was an investment piece and I love it. I've been photographed at events with it. I rewear it with people that I've been, no one has ever said, oh, that tire, everyone's like, what an amazing dress. People aren't paying attention. So I think that gives people freedom, and if it's a quality piece, you can, wear a different shoe with it or wear different jewelry, if you're buying quality that fits you. One of the biggest things that changed my life was tailoring. Changed my life. I have short arms and I realized, just take your sleeves up a little bit. Just take them up a little bit, and investing in quality pieces and tailoring them a little bit. Like, oh yeah, I can make this work.
Tailoring is so amazing. I haven't done it to a lot of pieces, but I have some items that are on my list to go. And I have a tailor that I love. So, it's like, I need to take that to George. But it feels amazing when something's made to fit you. The reality is that most of us are buying stuff off the rack or secondhand or what have you. Sizing is not standardized, but if you love it and it needs a little tweak, get the hem taken up, get the sleeve taken in, get the waist taken in, get the, make it fit you so that it just really works for your body. I love that.
And in the sustainability model, like a little tweak, a little $12 hem, it means you're going to get that much more life out of things, that we can start to be accountable for what we bring into our homes, what we, and that's the big piece for me. And that's really what this second book is about, is that piece of, in the decluttering and organizing journey, what are you consuming? What are you bringing in? Are you being mindful about what you're bringing into your home?
And I think just becoming mindful is such an important step because, and back to this book, you talk a lot about just the emotional wounds that we're trying to heal through stuff, and buying stuff isn't going to solve that problem. So if it makes us reflect on that a little bit, I loved your idea of what's the end life? When you're done with this thing that you're about to buy, where does it go? What are you going to do with it? And just really thinking about all of those things, I think, can be so powerful. And I know from personal experience, once you kind of get over that initial hurdle, I feel like letting stuff go becomes less scary too. It's kind of like, and kind of your experience with your pants. You saw that someone else who really needed them and enjoyed them and they fit was actually out in the world wearing them. They're not just, languishing in your closet anymore. And we can just kind of move on with our lives. I also love that you're saying, okay, do one drawer at a time, one rack in your closet at a time. I think that especially in today's day and age, there's been this idea of you have to do it all at once. You have to make a
Yeah.
giant pile in the middle of your room. And
Yes, there is a certain person that is putting that messaging out.
yes, yes.
And
And I love many of her messages, so it's not to
yeah. Oh,
disparage, but
look.
that doesn't work for us all.
Yeah. And that for me, having, I did the math the other day. I have 40,000 hours of decluttering under my belt. And for a lot of people, she started an amazing conversation and she opened a door. And, my book couldn't have, I don't think my books would have been as well received if there hadn't been her book, like definitely. But also, it doesn't work for everybody, and that's okay. And if it doesn't work for you, don't give up. Just figure out what works out. And and at the end of it, and I just, it's all about making your space, your home, your closet, your kitchen work for you, support you. The goal isn't to look perfect on Pinterest or, it's to make it work, because these are all tools. And at the end of the day, clothes are a tool. They're what get us out the door. Yes, they should be fun and you should feel fantastic in them. And if you're getting dressed out of the laundry basket, you're already setting yourself up to fail and feel bad.
If the clothes in your closet, if they don't make you feel good when you put them on, if you don't feel fabulous wearing them, what are you keeping them for? What's their purpose? Because if the stuff that you have doesn't serve you, then why do you have it?
I have a category of clients that have beautiful clothes, like, designer, really. And I've only ever seen them in leggings and t-shirts. And they just have all this. And I'm like, why? Man, put this on when you go to Whole Foods. Like, why are you not wearing this all the time? And they love it, but it's become this, in the book, in Make Space for Happiness, I talk about something called the Specialness Spiral, where they've done this study where you buy something and you bring it home, and let's just say a blazer, a Veronica Beard blazer that you got the little dicky and you're ready to go, and you decide that it's special, and so you don't wear it right away. You put it in your closet. Well, the longer that you go from interacting with that object, burning that candle, wearing that thing, it starts to become even more special and even more special and even more special. And then it takes on a life of its own and it never gets worn. So to your point exactly, why do you have all this stuff? Wear it, feel great in it, like celebrate. We're not saying, you should only have 4 things and they should all be black t-shirts. We're saying if you love it, wear it, wear it, wear it, wear it. One of the things that always hits me is, as I said, a big part of our business is we help families empty houses after someone's passed away, or, and I cannot tell you how many times we've discovered wedding presents for people who've been married 40 years that never got used, that are still in the original boxes. So, and you think, what? Like, look at this beautiful china. Like, eat your pizza on the beautiful china. Use the nice stuff, especially if you're inclined, if you're drawn towards that. Like, use it, love it, appreciate it. Yeah, it's a fancy plate and it might break. Okay. Maybe it goes in the dishwasher when it shouldn't, but is it serving you by sitting in the back of a dusty cabinet and never getting used? That's the thing. Like, I do believe in good form, good design, good function, and using it.
What do you recommend people do about unwanted gifts? So there's obviously people that save the special thing, hoping, oh, I'll save it for that special occasion, and maybe that occasion never comes. But what about the gift that you get that it's not you, it's not your thing, but a lot of people hang on to it because they feel like, oh, what if they ask about it, or they don't know what to do?
Yeah, that's great. So I'm a big fan. There's a bunch to unpack with that. First of all, I think that we should have very honest conversations about gift giving. I think people should be very transparent about, what do you want? What can I get you? It's very rarely that you can find something that that person will love it. And even if they love it, do they need it? So I think that we get to have a very transparent conversation about, I think that there's so much more value in giving a gift that people will use than buying something. I also believe that a lot of gift giving is about the giver, that the giver wants to shop. So they're shopping for themselves and using it as an excuse to give people. So if that's you, and if the people in your life are like, no, 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 don't buy me anything else, don't buy me anything else, I think it's a little reality check. So I think that in that conversation, to say, hey, thank you so much for getting me this. Like, I'm trying to kind of declutter my life. Next birthday, can we just go out to lunch together? Like, can I see you? Can we do an experience? Like, I really just want to spend time with you. This, especially grandparents out there, the grandparents just want to see the kids just want to see the grandparents. You don't need to show up with a passel of toys. So I think it's having an honest conversation. I don't know when we got into this idea that gifts need to be a surprise all the time. Like, I'd rather give someone something that they need and will use than surprising them. And then, look, I'm okay with giving away gifts. I've got a little pile of stuff in my house, and when my assistant comes over or something, I'm like, do you want any of this? This clothes don't fit me. I think that somebody gave it to me, I'm not going to use it. Sure, regift, but sometimes I think we just regift because we want to get rid of it and not feel guilty about it. Like, I just thought the other day where I was like, are people giving me gifts that someone just gave them that they didn't want? Like, are we in this whole, like this, this candle gets passed along. So I say to people like, hey, I got these candles. I had a bunch of makeup the other day, and I said to my assistant, like, oh, do you want any of this? Like, it's not, and she's like, I don't really wear makeup. And I was like, great, she didn't take it. So I'm okay, but I think we need to have a very, very, I don't think it's bad. I think it's actually great.
My channel for unwanted gifts is my local Buy Nothing group. And
yes,
there's almost always someone that is excited to take whatever that thing is that, and I think it depends on who's giving it to you, right? In terms of like the comfort level of having that conversation. I think I lean on the side of just thanking the gift giver.
Yeah.
And if it's something that I don't want or need, just passing it along and moving on.
But even if you don't want or need it, you still appreciate the act of giving, right? You still are like, oh, this person thought of me. Like, your thank you can be sincere. I love Buy Nothing groups. I love them. I think they're an amazing community that has like sparked up. I mean, we had the other day, I don't know, we had like 43 ring binders that were brand new that came from a client. And I'm like, and my assistant was like, I'm going to put them up on the Buy Nothing group. Somebody came and got them, teacher getting ready to start school. I was like, great. Those Buy Nothing groups are unbelievable.
It's so great. And it's a way to really keep things in circulation and deal with your stuff, but also to meet people in your neighborhood that you might never, ever meet. So I do want to ask you, and this is more of a, this is something that touches me personally. It hits home a little bit too. I have become very minimalistic in my life. I rarely buy things. I'm very, very conscious about what I bring into my home. And I have no problem purging. If I know that I'm not going to use it, I'm okay getting rid of things. So I've kind of gotten to that level. However, I live with two adorable little slobs that are pack rats. They're my children, in case anybody's wondering who I'm referring to. And they're getting older and they don't really play with their toys anymore. And some things they'll let me give away, but I try not to force them. It's tough, right? There's this struggle because even if they don't play with something, they really don't want to get rid of it. And so, and I've done the thing where like the thing I know for sure they're never going to touch again, I'll take it out of their room and I'll put it in a bag in a closet somewhere for a few weeks. And if they never notice, then I'll give it away. Or, I'll put it in the Buy Nothing group and say, come under cover of darkness. Don't let my children see you're taking this. They won't know.
Oh, you have no idea how many trunk loads of my car I have been full of. They're like, okay, I literally in my warehouse right now, I have 6 bins of stuffies from a house where they were like, okay, you just hold on to them. We'll just see if I'm like, okay, I got you. And then they will get passed along. So yes, interesting statistic. When you add a child into your life, you increase your possessions by 30%. Mhm.
What do you recommend for parents like myself who, I would love for my home to feel more like a sanctuary like it used to. I don't I don't want to be the bad person, the mean person that's
Yeah.
like throwing away all of their stuff. And I want them to feel like they do have ownership of their stuff and they can make their own choices. I try to nudge them in the direction of, oh, you don't use this anymore. Are you ready to get rid of it? But what do you recommend for people like myself in that situation in terms of like helping them? Like, is there any language or routines or things that parents can do to kind of help this process?
Yeah. It's great. This is such a great thing. First of all, I think a really important step in this is to talk to them, and you can start pretty young, I, we've all seen those kids that go to Montessori school, man, they put those toys away. They know how to do it really young. But a really great conversation to start having is why be organized? And the way that that conversation shows up around kids is like, I can't find my Pokemon, and they can't find it. And so it's a conversation to say like, look, if all your stuffies were together and all your Polly Pockets were together and everything was together, you would know where to go find it. Then you wouldn't have to have this meltdown. We wouldn't be having this, make it be. And that's where they start to get autonomy. I mean, one of my favorite jobs ever, we organized this playroom, and it was two boys, and it was a disaster. And we got some bins, and we organized it all, and they go find it. And to this day, this little guy he came running in the room, and he like stopped. And, I organized animals with animals, and people, and he was like, my guys, I found my guys again. So I think it's not about making them wrong, but like, look, here's the benefit to it. And I think you can start early with something in, something out. You're getting a new toy, something needs to go out, and sometimes you've got to do it behind their back. It's not our favorite, but sometimes you got to. And also, if they're like, no, I want it, then you're like, okay, show me. And I have seen with clients and their kids where they, said, you don't ever play with this. And they're like, no, no, no. And then they go back to using it. So, it is a way to reintroduce. But look, kids are smart. Just have the real conversation with them, And if you want a new thing, or grandma gets you a new thing, then something's got to go. It's just that's the way we live, and here are the reasons why. It's better for the planet. It's better for our house. But I think that conversation about being organized so they have autonomy to find their own toys, put their own toys away, that's like, oh, then you don't have to come to me. Now now you can get dressed for school in the morning because all your t-shirts are together. So I think it's really, as we do with ourselves, focusing on the positive and what are you going to get out of it.
Yeah, I love that perspective. So before we wrap up, there are a few questions that I always love to ask everyone. The first one, which is super fun, do you have a favorite piece in your closet? And if so, what is it and what do you love about it?
Oh, I do. I have a suede jacket that I bought in Florence. Actually, a dear friend bought it for me. I tried it on. It was a little out of my budget. She went back to the store and bought it as a birthday gift for me. So it is from this woman she's married to the head of Bottega Veneta. She has her own line of clothing. It is so well made. It looks fantastic. I love it so much. I'm like, when is it going to get cold so I can wear it? I can wear it with jeans. I can wear, and it was a big investment and it was a gift, but I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. My 22-year niece is always like, you ready to give that away yet? I'm like, well, you will pry it from my cold, dead hands. And I think the thing that was great about that piece too is that it's got a bit of a 70s throwback. And I remember looking at it and thinking like, I can wear this for the rest of my life. Like to really see it and go, this isn't going to go out of style. I can wear it forever. So that's one of my favorite pieces in my closet.
What's inspiring you right now?
The young people today wearing secondhand. It's really inspiring to me. they all look so great. They look great. My niece, the people who work for me, I'm so inspired by that. And it gives me so much hope, and they're doing it for the right reasons. And they look great. Like, they look great. So that's really inspiring me.
I love it. And, the world is a crazy place right now. What's keeping you feeling optimistic? And it might tie into also what's inspiring you a little bit, but what's keeping you feeling optimistic about the future?
Yeah, I think people, as I'm engaging people in this conversation about consumption, Make Space for Happiness comes out on October 4th on social media. People want to have this conversation. It's giving me hope. People are open to it. They're like, right, I have a part in this, and that's keeping me going. That's really, I think that the response has been amazing, and people want to have this conversation. And I'm finding, like you, and I did a design podcast, like these sort of podcasts that aren't necessarily about organizing, are seeing where this conversation fits, and that really gives me hope.
That's incredible. How can people find you, and how can they buy your books?
So best place to go is my website, Tracy McCubbin, MCCUBBIN. You can take a clutter block quiz and find out what your clutter block is. Both the books are available. Social media, Instagram is my biggest platform, at Tracy_McCubbin. We're having a great time. I do these 5-minute decluttering challenges. I do a couple of them a week. People love them. It's just a great community. So Instagram, I'm on TikTok. There's a lot going on over there, but Instagram seems to be, as I said. But yeah, Instagram is a great place to reach me. And then, go onto the website and take the clutter block quiz. And, book comes out October 4th.
So exciting. And so I'll kind of flash it again, Make Space for Happiness. It's such a great book. And Tracy, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and your expertise. And I am so excited to have connected through the podcast and through Instagram. Thank you so much.
I love it. Thank you. Thank you for having me. And I have a feeling that Swap Society and dClutterfly are going to have a lot of partnerships moving forward. I'm so excited to have another resource for my clients. It's great.
That's amazing. Try this. I love it. Thank you so much. Well, have a beautiful day.
You too. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to the Swap Society podcast. Swap Society is an online clothing swap for women and kids that makes it easy and affordable to mix up your wardrobe sustainably. We're a growing community of women across the USA who are creating positive change by swapping our clothes and slowing down our fashion consumption. We would love to swap with you. If you're interested in joining, you can sign up at our website. Learn more at www.swapsociety.co. That's swapsociety.co. You can find the show notes for each episode on our website. Please get in touch with us on social media too. We're on Instagram, TikTok, Pinterest, and YouTube for the video version of this podcast at Swap Society. Music is by Joel Korolitz and yours truly. I hope you've enjoyed the show. Please help us spread the word by subscribing, leaving a rating and review, sharing on social media, or simply telling a friend. We really appreciate your support. Have a wonderful day, and remember to swap before you shop.